I'm highly disappointed with us Zimbabweans. Nenye Allan Moyo akuru akasungwa tamhanya papata kuti then liki ringotendera samskukanda amnanyadzi makaita senemani nekuti ndiAllan Moyo tese tiri Allan Moyo tese tiri takafanana naAllan Moyo tikurwira same goal ha makotsi emuZimbabwe akagadzirwa vanhu veZANU-PF kuti vaite madilonesi ona zvakaita naHenrietta Shwa yezvezva mabhosi eZNTMS imakangoti vavange shiri dzadirwa mvura inopisa ha kunyarara kuti zinga Allan Moyo abuda muchirongo ndomashure pamunochitirewa munhu onyemwa dochinzi ndofisi dzabodi pachikoro panonzi Allan Moyo amupazivi panogara baba Allan Moyo amupazivi yagoshiire here Allan Moyo kuti kana isina kugara kuti kana iri winter inotizira kuAfrica kusama ndomashure pamunochitirewa haiwa tibvirewo ndosaka tichijairwa tinodhivhirwa dikidiki ngatibatane tiite chinhu one.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Zimbabwe, from wherever you are. Linjani mthwakazi omuhle lapha elingaba likhona emagumbini amane omhlaba sesiphendukele njalo series yethu eka Allan Moyo #Allan Moyo siphenduka sizonika isolidarity eka Allan Moyo yena owabotshwa mhla ka-6 December 2020 namhlanje idate ngu-12 February 2021 ulokhe phakathi silokho sikhalela phela ijustice ka-Allan Moyo makadini muri yeZimbabwe tadzoka zvakare nechirongwa chedu Allan Moyo series apo tiri kurangarira tichirwira kodzero dzaAllan Moyo uyo akasungwa musi wa6 December 2020 nhasi date richiti 12 February 2021 tichiuya nesolidarity tichiuya zvakare neproject yekufundraiser for Allan Moyo. Hanzi I'm Allan Moyo, we are Allan Moyo. Ndofunga mamunzwa Julie Marwei achitaura. Can you play again Marwei? Maybe one wangu asati wauya. Can you play?
I don't care. And then I'm highly disappointed with us Zimbabweans. Nenye ndiAllan Moyo akuru akasungwa tamhanya papata kuti then liki ringotendera samskukanda amnanyadzi makaita senemani nekuti ndiAllan Moyo tese tiri Allan Moyo tese tiri takafanana naAllan Moyo tikurwira same goal ha makotsi emuZimbabwe akagadzirwa vanhu veZANU-PF kuti vaite madilonesi ona zvakaita naHenrietta Shwa yezvezva mabhosi eZNTMS imakangoti vavange shiri dzadirwa mvura inopisa ha kunyarara kuti zinga Allan Moyo abuda muchirongo ndomashure pamunochitirewa munhu onyemwa dochinzi ndofisi dzabodi pachikoro panonzi Allan Moyo amupazivi panogara baba Allan Moyo amupazivi yagoshiire here Allan Moyo kuti kana isina kugara kuti kana iri winter inotizira kuAfrica kusama ndomashure pamunochitirewa haiwa tibvirewo ndosaka tichijairwa tinodhivhirwa dikidiki ngatibatane tiite chinhu one.
Yes. That's Julie Marwei for you. Hanzi ngatibatane tiche chinhu one. Honestly, how can people say Hanzi Allan Moyo is of no fixed abode when they know Allan Moyo is at University of Zimbabwe? Allan Moyo stays in Harare. Both his parents are in Harare. His siblings are in Harare. His friends are in Harare. His comrades are in Harare. So how can he be of no fixed abode? Ngumpheto lo vakadaro vanhanzi ngumpheto lo vapeta nhasi uno I'm with my guest today. My guest is Desmond Sharukai. Desmond Sharukai is a human rights activist who is based in Norway. Those of you who saw that birthday message for President Nelson Chamisa, that was in 12 languages. If you go back to that video, you will see Comrade Desmond Sharukai wishing President Nelson Chamisa a happy birthday in Norway language. Desmond Sharukai is also he was a student activist at MSU during his days. He works in the civil society, and he now specializes in youth and elections and youth development in general. I think today we've got the right candidate. Allan Moyo is a youth. We want to hear what our comrade has brought for us, what he's going to tell us about Allan Moyo. I know most of you are not aware of who Allan Moyo is. We are holding this series. It's been a week now holding this series for Allan Moyo, and we are demanding justice for Allan Moyo. We are saying Allan Moyo is not a criminal. We are saying Allan Moyo must be granted bail just like any other Zimbabwean citizen. Allan Moyo does not deserve to be in jail. Today is day 68 for Allan Moyo, and we see some ZANU-PF looters. They did not even stay. They did not even sleep in the holding cells. An example is the health minister Obadiah Moyo, who stole, who looted the COVID funds. He's seated at his home. He's enjoying the looting that he did. Our COVID fund, that the funds that he looted. I'm gonna invite our guest tonight, Comrade Desmond. Can you greet our viewers and listeners? Welcome to this program. We are live on ZimEye. We are live on Lighthouse House. We are also live on Change Radio, the People's Radio, changing your minds, changing your ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pa. Thank you for having me tonight on the program. And good evening to our viewers. Good afternoon, depending on where you are. Good morning, depending on where you are watching from. Indeed, Barbara put it quite well. We are, in trying times as we speak. Allan Moyo is one of us. He is a Zimbabwean. There's nothing extraordinary about him. There's nothing that makes him Zimbabwean more or Zimbabwean less than any of us. We are all Zimbabweans. We're all equal. Even our constitution itself says that we are all equal. So Allan Moyo might be an individual we know or we may not know who is in prison today, but Allan Moyo represents you and I. Allan Moyo is me, Allan Moyo is you. He is one of the unfortunate activists who have had a lot of persecution with regards to their expression, or rather their participation in the democratic discourse of our country. It seems as if the basic tenets of democracy, which are participation and expression, do not exist in the type of democracy that we have in Zimbabwe, and that is very unfortunate. This is why we are seeing this persecution of Allan Moyo. And not only Allan Moyo, it doesn't start and stop with him. It goes on to extend to people from different political parties. We've seen Ngari Vume in jail. We have seen Josikala, the deputy chairperson, in jail. We have seen so many activists. We have seen journalists being paid for speaking truth to power. And this is why we are here. This is why we're having this program, to try and find out why, and also to show support and solidarity with people like Allan Moyo. But today, particularly, giving particular attention to the situation that Allan Moyo is facing. He's been in prison, as you said, since the 6th December. That is really sad. Yeah. That is really sad.
Yes.
And to think most of had a very nice Christmas. He's definitely gloomy, and he was behind bars. So definitely that's something worthwhile for you and me to think about. So thank you for having me on tonight.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. Yes, you were a student leader, a student activist during your days when you were still at MSU. Can you relate to us how the student activism was, comparing to the activism of today. Tell us, is there any difference, or things are just like they were? And also, can you also tell us, what does our constitution say? Is it unlawful? What Allan Moyo did, is it unlawful in the first place? When you tell us of your experiences, also touch on the issue of the constitution. Thank you.
Well, what I can say is definitely it's not the same today. Today, it's actually worse. And I say this because I myself have had the experience of being a student activist. So I've stood, in a way, in the shoes that Allan Moyo has stood before during our days in university, and when we were, conducting our activism as students. We had, of course, issues that we were advocating for at the time, but the framework remained the same anyway. So if I am to compare when we were student activists under the Mugabe regime back in 2009, 2010, find that, of course, the same was incidents, activists were intimidated by arrests and things like that, but not so much as spending 2 months in jail. What we are witnessing today is a bit extreme. There seems to be, that obsession with trying to send that message loud and clear that activism comes with a consequence. Back then, we used to view it as normal, students being arrested, students being harassed, and not so much as we are seeing it today. Back then, we saw it as if it was a bit normal because we're dealing with a fully fledged dictatorship under the leadership of Robert Mugabe, and so we expected it that way. But what we have seen today and what we are seeing happening to Allan Moyo is really because what we witnessed in 2017 after the coup, the promise that we got that we are now living in what is a new dispensation. We are now living in the Second Republic. We will do things differently. People's rights, as enshrined in Chapter 4 of our Constitution, will be respected. So everyone was enthusiastic. Everyone was looking forward to this being a change, an actual change from the past. But what we have seen is, these were just smoke screens that were being shown to us. Nothing has changed. In fact, if anything, everything has actually gone worse. We are now seeing a higher level of state repression. We are now seeing a higher level of heavy-handedness when it comes to dealing with those who express their rights. There is no such thing as freely expressing one's rights in Zimbabwe today. And it is really sad that we are talking of these kind of issues, today. About back sometime when they were student leaders in the 90s, when they were student leaders in the 90s, we are talking of, but we'll see having the same discussion today. So it seems as if instead of going forward, we are moving backwards. You asked a very important question about what the Constitution itself says, if what Allan Moyo did is legal or illegal. What Allan Moyo did, what is being accused of having done, is not in any way. 59 of our Constitution provides for freedom of expression through petitioning and demonstrating. What we've seen Allan Moyo doing was addressing concerns as a citizen. His popular address at Copacabana bus terminal, he was addressing And he was not speaking out of tune, because everything he was saying is a manifestation of reality. We've seen this happening. Water is not coming out from taps. It's not illegal for you to say that. Whether you say it in from your house, or whether you say it from Copacabana, or from the bus, or if you're shouting from the top of a building, the difference remains the same. Because at the end of the day, what he said and what he spoke of were true realities. We've seen a lot of, more or less, the continued arrest of activists is never based on an actual crime. It's always a way to try and silence them, or rather in their expression of, or rather in their expression of truth to power. And this is the case we are witnessing with Allan Moyo. It is also, I think we'll speak about it as we go, but it is also said that most of the rights that are in Chapter 4 are not being, and this is a good case that we're observed. You look at Section 51, if I got that one right, that speaks about the right to human dignity. Where is the human dignity when someone spends 2 months, in fact, over 2 months in prison, is not awarded an opportunity to get bail? We have seen how many times he has been denied bail. It's really sad, Barbara, that we are still talking about these things. Like I said, it's really sad that we are talking about these things in 2021, when we should be dealing with innovative ways of fighting COVID-19 and encouraging each other to weather the storm that we are currently experiencing. But we are now really caught between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, we are dealing with the COVID pandemic. On the other, we are dealing with state repression and being starved of our human rights. It's really sad.
Yes, yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. Yes, it's really sad. Someone said, Kuti Anzi, the government, instead of fighting COVID-19, if government is fighting its own people using the COVID-19, it's like they are taking advantage of this COVID-19, and they are busy suppressing the masses through this COVID. They bring their draconian restrictions of the COVID-19, like the lockdown restrictions. We have seen some countries introducing this lockdown, but it's flexible. People are given information so that they know what exactly to do during this lockdown. There are safety measures that are put in place such that the people will just obey the restrictions, because they'll be having food on their table. They'll be their rights will be taken care of. But in Zimbabwe, we are seeing the government that is introducing the lockdown restrictions whilst its people are suffering, whilst people are dying of hunger. They are dying of COVID at the same time dying of hunger. So we are seeing Allan Moyo in prison where there are no masks, there is no social distancing, there's no washing of hands, no sanitization. The toilets or the ablution facilities, they are not working. The conditions there, they are just inhumane, like you've rightfully put it. So, and we wonder, Kuti, the COVID-19 funds, if they are not stretched to the prisons, how are our prisoners going to survive? Because being in prison is not it's not punishing someone, but we want to correct what they did. That's why it's called the correctional services. But here it's like nothing is being corrected here, Comrade Desmond. So what do you think people should do concerning this COVID-19 versus the people that are being arrested because of breaking the COVID-19 regulations, or that are being arrested for exercising their rights when there is COVID-19.
A very important question that you've raised, Barbara. And I think first and foremost, in the context of what is happening right now with comrades like Allan, we also have to be cautious. Initially, we have to make sure that we are, of course, compliant with the regulations that are in place, because that is part of the ammunition that is used by the states to repress citizens and to starve you of your rights. We've seen what happened with Themba Mliso, but then it's of course not a good example to give, given that he only spent hours in prison to bail, but he's being charged with breaking COVID-19 regulations and having an illegal, or rather an unsanctioned gathering when he was having a press conference. We have seen a lot of government ministers. We have seen even the president of the republic having press conferences, but someone else is to have a press conference and someone is speaking the language that they don't like. That is then turned into what they call an illegal gathering or an unsanctioned gathering, which ultimately is then said to be breaking COVID-19 regulations. So, of course, as citizens, we have to be vigilant. We have to make sure that we steer clear of those kind of could use to come against us. But most importantly, when we are looking at this particular issue, I think we are left with no option as citizens to show solidarity with Allan. Know that his lawyers will be filing for his bail in the High Court sometime next week, maybe early next week. We have the onus is on us really to show solidarity with Allan. I really wish we had opportunity. Of course, it's unfortunate now we are under COVID lockdowns and all that. If we had the opportunity, everyone really should find Allan, attend whichever hearing date he gets at the court, to show solidarity and also to send the message loud and clear. Because at the end of the day, it's not only about the court process, leader Barbara. It's also about the social context that is happening within the country. What are the people saying? Those things also have some impact to some extent when it comes to how these issues are dealt with. So if there's really public outcry and people demand that there's nothing wrong with what Allan did, may he be tried fairly, may he go through the court system fairly and not be persecuted. If that is a voice that is not only coming from one section of society, or rather of the community, and it's being echoed at a holistic level, and people really make so much noise about it, which is the solidarity that we're talking about. If people make so much noise about it, you will find that to some extent, it also influences the court's decision, or rather the state's reaction in the way that they are treating the case. Because I also feel like the less people talk about it, the more insignificant it then seems. And, it also then equals to the amount of free play that the state has when it comes to executing. And it's really for us to sit back, relax, and watch when one of our own is being mistreated.
Yes. Thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. And what is your view, maybe on the current state of Zimbabwe? Do you think Zimbabwe is ready for a revolution, or we are not yet ready? Looking at what's happening now, what has happened to some people, whether be it in the MDC or in the civil society, or in what's happening to journalists. At what point or at what stage can people say now we want a revolution, or we are now going for a plan B, which is a revolution? Because inini ndiri kutoshamisika kuti zvinozoita kana zvadini pakaenda vanhu kuhondo zvazvamboita sei. What was our Sarajevo incident, and what could be or maybe hatisati tasvika kustage yachona iyoyo yokuti titi no, enough is enough. Tasvika here that stage, Comrade Desmond?
Well, two responses to that question, Leader Barbara. First being, what Zimbabwe actually needs right now is change. Not necessarily a revolution in my own and real change, genuine change. We actually need functioning democracy. We need strong institutions that safeguard, because institutions are what drive the country. It's not supposed to be individuals. This is why we have created institutions out of human an institution in its own right, which is wrong. So it's real change. We have the legislative frameworks that are already there. We have the constitution that is already there. What we need now also is a change of attitude, change of behavior, a change in with the state as citizens. How things that take part in our day-to-day. We were discussing the issue of constitutional amendment bill number 2 towards the close of last year. How many people took part in the public hearings that were held by Parliament to just express whether or not they feel it's time for us to start amending the Constitution, whether or not the issues that want to be amended in the Constitution are of any relevance or of any importance? Should they be the first things that we should be dealing with right now? Of course, it's not immune to being amended, but the issues that we are rushing to include as part of Constitutional Amendment Bill number 2, are those necessary for us to be racing after? What about the more pertinent issues? What about electoral reforms? We have been talking about electoral reforms since I ever remember. This whole discussion around elections should be around the early 2000s. So our engagement with the state, how we engage with democratic institutions, how we engage with democratic discourse at a national level is also very important. But also not only at a national level, but also at a lower level, at a community level. How do we engage? What are the structures that we can create to support institutions that stand for democracy? We've got commissions, we've got courts, law enforcement, the law itself. How do we as a community interact with the law? When we see it being bastardized and violated, what is our response? Do we say, no, it's not me, it's Allan, and I have never met him, I don't know him, so it doesn't affect me? So these are important issues. So we are what as a country we are ready for now is change, and it's that we are ready for it now. We have been ready for it for a very long time, and we really need it. And so that's the first thing. Second answer I have is to say that we speak the language of democracy. It's unfortunate that it's not what they like to hear. When you spoke about how the Sarajevo incident that led them, to the war veterans, so to speak, to go to war and say enough is enough. We want to live our country. We are now in the 21st century. Our discussions are around good governance. Our discussions are around democracy. Our discussions are around transparency. So when we talk of change, we speak the language of Democrats, speak the language of free and fair elections. People should be allowed to express freely and fairly, So these are the kind of things that we expect when it comes to 21st century political dynamics. We don't expect the same attitude that was there when, our forefathers were fighting colonialism and fighting for our liberation. So when we advocate right now, we advocate non-violent ways of engaging government, non-violent ways of asking, and rather non-violent ways of bringing about change. At the end of the day, when you talk of a revolution, you want it to have happened in that way, but it can be construed for wanting to take up arms and liberate ourselves as our forefathers have done. But that is not the language that we speak. It's unfortunate also that we have heard more of the leaders speaking about the fact that when Zimbabweans, or rather when the youth, feel that they want to liberate themselves, they should do what we have done. This language, they have been speaking it for a very long time now, and in essence, they are saying we've won this. We won over our liberation through an armed struggle. We are not willing to sacrifice what we now have, the power that we have at our disposal through non-violent ways or through democratic ways. Always we stand and say that it's more costly for us to go that route. It costs us in terms of human life, which we find sacrosanct. And personally, I feel that we think that should consider when we do our efforts is the issue of how we preserve the language of Democrats. And at times it might not make sense to some of these guys who took up arms and fought to get our country liberated. But
Yes.
what I know and what
I think we have lost our leader there, Comrade Desmond.
I'm still here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. We saw there are some people, some good Samaritans that have just started a GoFundMe for Allan Moyo. Would you want to shed more light on this GoFundMe, how it's performing, and maybe telling people how those that want to chip in, how they can chip in, and also the link? Where can they find the link? I think our technical staff are going to pin the link for us to see. What can you say about this GoFundMe day? Because people would want to know. And munozwa kuti kune vanhu vanoda kubvunza stereki. Ndei GoFundMe chii chakakupushai kuti muite this GoFundMe for Allan? I think we have lost our guest there. Are you there, Comrade Desmond?
No, I don't care what you want to say. I don't care. And then I'm very disappointed with us Zimbabweans. Nenyaya kuti ndiAllan Moyo danga vakuru vakasungwa tamhanya papataburi then linki ringotenderera samusi kukanda amuna nyadzi makaita senemani nekuti ndiAllan Moyo tese tiri Allan Moyo tese tiri takafanana naAllan Moyo tikurwira same goal ha Makotsi emuZimbabwe akagadzirwa vanhu veZANU-PF kuti vaite madiro-nesi. Ona zvakaita naEmulator shwa. Nezvavo mabhosi eZNTMS. Imakangoti vavanga shiri dzadirwa mvura inopisa. Kunyarara kuti zinga Allan Moyo abuda muturongo ndomashure pamunotitirewa. Munhu onyemwa doctrines no fix the board pachikoro panonzi Allan Moyo amupazivi panogara baba Allan Moyo amupazivi. Yagoshire Allan Moyo kuti kana isina kugara kuti kana iri winter inotizira kuAfrica kusama. Ndomashure pamunotitirewa. Haiwa tibvirewo ndosaka tichijairwa tinodhivhirwa ndokuti diki ngatibatane tiite chinhu one.
Jula akaoma. Hazina Julie ngatibatanai tiite chinhu one. Maybe before you respond, I want to greet our viewers and listeners. I've ignored them for a long time here. Patience Mavunga, how are you? Gogo Wanata, I can see you. You are watching. How are you? Hanzi se Pritchard Chiorese, ndeipi Hanzi Nyasha, Stanford Mawindidze, zviri sei Hanzi free Allan Moyo. Wese vari kuti hashtag free Allan Moyo. Tawana Lakita Mashingaidze free Allan Moyo. Violet Bezalel Njuga, how are you? Tito Chiwi Hanzi Allan Moyo. I went to school with Allan Moyo. Hanzi na Tino Chiwi andakaenda kuchikoro na Allan Moyo. Isai mari Tino, isa mari wamunzwa kuti Juliet kuti hazvinei kanjanda. Hanzi apo, how are you? We are talking about Allan Moyo. This is solidarity for Allan Moyo and also a GoFundMe for Allan Moyo. Hanzi hashtag free Allan Moyo. Ndichifamba neguest yangu yanhasi Comrade Desmond Kenu Hanzi Ngoni Nyagadza, how are you? Comrade Desmond Madonna futhi muripo here? Hello, Comrade Desmond. Comrade Albert, can you pin the link for the people to see? I can't. My guest is continuously dropping, and is you kuti kunoe hakuna Wi-Fi here. Can you pin our link there so that people can see? And will help spread the news. Thank you so much, Tino. And will help spread the news. Can we have the link? Anyone with the link? And I'm watching you live from Botswana, Francistown. That is Natalie Muswaka. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. And Allan Moyo is innocent. Yeah, there is our link there. It has been pinned. Our link there, and on my platforms on Instagram. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's spread the news. Let's share. Kandai my loves, my likes. Kwete angu, but Allan Moyo. Those who think that Allan Moyo should be freed, please, my love, my likes. Tuone. Anzina Tendai Chimanda, free Allan Moyo. I've lost my guest there, but anyway, I think the last question was about the GoFundMe. There is a GoFundMe that has been created for Allan Moyo. We are saying we want to buy the PPEs for Allan Moyo, seeing Kuti he has stayed for so many days in prison without being tried. So the GoFundMe is going towards my PPEs for Allan Moyo, his food, his drinks. We also want to help the family. And remember, when he comes out, he's supposed to be learning. Other students are learning online. He's missed a lot. So we also want him to catch up. Maybe he's going to buy his laptop, his Wi-Fi at home. We want to do everything for him. We want to make sure that the 68 days that Allan Moyo spent in prison will not jeopardize his future, his career, because Allan Moyo also, he was doing that for you, he was doing that for me, whilst our children were going to school. Allan Moyo is languishing in prison. We are back, comrade. Can you tell us about the GoFundMe, the number, but and also give us the way forward before we conclude this section?
Thank you. Forgive me for jumping in and out. I think my connection here that was letting me down. So the GoFundMe, Pandapinda, you were talking about it, and indeed it is entirely about Allan Moyo. It has everything to do with his welfare. While he's incarcerated, he needs a lot of resources to use while he's behind bars, but also things like food and to get him water to drink, some medication here and there, and some PPE. As we all know, the situation in the prisons, they are not being supplied with face masks. They are not being supplied with hand sanitizers. There's no running water for them to drink. There's no clean water to use. So these are some of the things that we also are trying to supply him with, but also to then assist also the family, who is also kind of in the middle of helping him out, as they are the primary contact people with him. We are also hoping that if he's granted bail, he also gets a bit of medical attention, just to get some tests done and things like that. So these are the resources that we are talking about. You are also speaking about the fact that he is a student, and speak, and he's behind bars. So those are the kind of considerations that had been put forward by his friends, his family as well. So the link, I think, has been pinned somewhere there on the chat. Yes, and any kind of donation would go a long way. There's nothing too small. There's nothing too big. We are really hoping that people can chip in and help out. Like I said in the beginning, there's nothing that he was saying that is not real. He was not being an alarmist. He was not lying. He was speaking truth. Probably the only crime he made or he committed was speaking truth to power. And as a result, he's being persecuted for that. But he was speaking about our lived realities day in out. He has been there sounding his voice of reason. Each time we've seen teachers union on demonstrations, he's been there also in solidarity as a student, because what affects teachers affects students as well. So he's really a pro-democracy activist. Is right. As a result, I also feel, as a citizen of Zimbabwe, regardless of where I am, be it within Zimbabwe or outside, I have a responsibility to look out for Allan, because Allan is me and I'm Allan as well. So we should stand with him. And so I wouldn't know really where his legal situation is now. But as I indicated, I know for a fact that his bail application will be filed. It would just say early next week. So hopefully he will get a favorable result and he will bail. He's been there for so long. We would hate to think that he has lost hope. I know he's reason. He's not an easy nut to crack. And so we hope he still remains resolute. I know some comrades have been going to visit him. As I've been in contact with some of them, and they say his spirits are still high. He still wants change. He's still talking, real change for Zimbabwe, even from behind bars. So it's really motivating and moving that we have cadres of such caliber in the pro-democracy movement.
Yes. Thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. You know, that was very, very insightful and very powerful, I must say. What you have said, Nini, I think our government is not being sincere by ignoring the youth, because I see power in the youth. I see visionary leaders. I see very intelligent leaders. We should admit kuti we grow and we should leave this country in the hands of the youth, like what Comrade Nkomo said, kuti this country will never die. The youth will rescue it. And I think the government is disadvantaging the youth, not only the youth in the opposition, not only the youth in the civil society, but also the youth in ZANU-PF. I don't know why the youth in ZANU-PF are so quiet like this. I was also looking at the appointments that were done, the ministerial appointments. Not even a single youth was appointed. You know, this country is nose diving. This country is yanzi nyika yakuenda kumawere, because a futureless, a country that is led by old people, a country that ignores youth is a futureless country. Ignoring youth is catastrophic. That's what I can say. Thank you so much, Comrade Desmond. There you are, viewers and listeners. We had Desmond telling us, or maybe sharing us, offering solidarity to his fellow comrade or fellow activist, Comrade Allan Moyo. We are going to be back again tomorrow, and also we are also coming with another series for the remembering our icon, Comrade Morgan Tsvangirai, who died on the 14th of February on Valentine's Day. So isusu wamwe Valentine's Day maruwa tiri kuendesa kuna Comrade Tsvangirai. Everything we are going to dedicate this day, the World Day, to our late President Richard Morgan Tsvangirai. May his soul continue to rest in peace. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, viewers. Thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
Call me names, you know, and I don't care what you come out there. I don't care. And then she tell us one. I'm highly disappointed with us Zimbabweans. Nenye ndi Allan Moyo ndanga rakuru akasungwa tamhanya papa taburi then liki ringotenderera samsikukanda amuna nyadzi makaita senemani nekuti ndi Allan Moyo tese tiri Allan Moyo tese tiri takafanana naAllan Moyo tikurwira same goal ha makosi emuzimbabwe akagadzirwa vanhu veZANU-PF kuti vaite madilonesi ona zvakaita naEmulator shwa iye zvinezva mabhosi eZTMS imakangoti vavange shiri dzadirwa mvura inopisa ha kunyarara kuti ziyu ndiAllan Moyo abuda muchirongo ndomashure pamunochitirewa munhu onyemwa bills dzinofix the board pachikoro panonzi Allan Moyo amupazivi panogara baba Allan Moyo amupazivi yagoshire here Allan Moyo kuti kana isina kugara kuti kana iri winter inotizira kuAfrica kusama ndomashure pamunochitirewa haiwa tibvirewo ndosaka tichijairwa tinodhivhirwa ndoti dikidiki ngatibatane tiite chinhu 1